a few of these out of there cheap. That was good.
Damn. You got fake degrees out of China?
I did actually, and I don't want to brag.
Don't brag. Yeah.
Please.
Took 3 months to come in. Yeah, I know that it goes. I've ordered a couple Hertz jerseys off Temu. Yeah,
that's true. Like some of these are bootlegs, and when I walked into the Super Bowl with my fake jersey, they arrested me.
Yeah.
I've been
It's actually
there.
a funny story. We got arrested at the Masters, but that's.
Go ahead. Why'd you get arrested at the
I'll tell you a
Masters?
funny story.
Yeah.
We bought our tickets from a very shady outfit called StubHub.
Yes.
And so we went in there.
Did you go to the? So I went to the Masters too. Did you go to the house in the neighborhood to go get your tickets from it?
I did, exactly.
Me too.
Yeah.
So this is what happened. So my son, who's not here, we call him Silent Bob. So he's only on camera on rare occasions. So basically, we went in, we got our tickets from StubHub, paid a fortune for him. And when he went in there, apparently his badge had been used a few times before.
Jeez.
So they literally shook him down.
Yeah.
So he went in there, they strip searched him, they put him in the equivalent of a Hamas tunnel. Which is,
Starting off
being
light,
a Jew, I could get away with a joke like that. So they
an
did
interconnection
that.
of tunnels
So I
just
walked
running underneath the Masters.
I walked in with my badge and I got through, and I saw him like bound and gagged, and I saw him like in a small area. And I was, being a good dad, I was just going to walk in and ignore him and just enjoy the show. But I went in there. Then they interrogated me. They put me under a hot light. Where did you get it? And I said, like, StubHub. And they go, say that louder. And I said, StubHub.
Yeah.
And they say, Doctor, your life as you know it is over. Please, I'm too young to die.
Jesus.
So it really was Hamas.
So basically, they took our badges. I tried to pretend that I was, I was from Marion. I held my teacup a certain way, but they say, Jew, you're out.
Got it.
Yeah.
So they kicked us out. See, I'm going to all the racist jokes. I'm only going to make self-deprecating. So
That's what I'll say. If you make it,
all self-deprecating jokes from Jewish jokes.
Sure.
So so they knew I wasn't. They knew I didn't come off the Mayflower. They had a feeling I wasn't. A member of Augusta. So then we basically crawled out with our tails between our legs, and we went to a place in South Carolina and actually played golf. And the next day we went back to the StubHub place, and they actually issued us badges for Sunday.
Yeah.
And so it was great. But so but we did get interrogated by the Masters Committee. And I was like stuttering Bob. I was like,
Were they in their green jackets?
Yeah, they were in the green jackets. The lady who interrogated us, I must say, was very beautiful.
Sure.
So at the end, as they were kicking us out, my son said, by the way, ma'am, I hope you don't think I'm crossing the line. Would you marry me?
Oh, nice. There you go.
Dude. Lover boy over there.
I mean, you got to
Holy
find a way to get to the Masters
And
somehow.
she said, just get out, you peasant.
Yeah, I would have got hard right there when I heard that.
You ever
I
been
get
to the
close
Masters?
visit. That's all it takes.
You
Yeah.
ever been to the Masters?
Exactly.
Of course not, dude. Not at all.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So it was an interesting story, a master story.
Did you ever get to go?
I did. I actually went in 2017, I believe. So I'm looking at Silent Bob off camera.
Yeah.
So we went to see one. Oh, it's 2019.
So I think the Tiger won it.
The Tiger
I was
won
there
it.
that
So
year
we went to the last round where Tiger won it, and it was great.
Okay.
And then we decided we'd go back this year, and we decided we would scalp tickets at the street, that was nearby where you could always buy them. But that day, of course, there were no tickets to be had.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to StubHub, and that's a story. Then you heard about our tale of woe when we both got shaken down, our badges got stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, it was, it was an uneventful vacation.
Okay.
Allegedly uneventful. So it's a 2-3 day thing? You're over there. That's 4-day event?
Well, 4-day event.
We
it goes
were
from Thursday to
trying
Sunday.
to go for
jeez.
Friday night into Saturday. And then Saturday, we basically spent most of our day trying to procure tickets. Then when we got there around noon, we both got, because his badge wasn't real, it was fake, we got detained and extracted and basically whatever word, we got eviscerated, disemboweled, whatever other good medical words we got. Then they did some unauthorized craniotomy on us, and we crawled out like peasants. But other than that, we didn't lose our dignity at all. That's what's very good. Very important.
So we're here with Dr. B. He's a neurologist.
Dr.
If you
B,
couldn't
man.
tell, obviously, in the first 5 minutes that we're doing stuff with him, but he's a huge sports fan. I mean, Iverson jerseys, Malone, Cheeks, LeBron, Jalen Hurts. Are these people you've worked on? Are these
Yeah, without violating HIPAA, we've worked on many of the people here. I treat a lot of the retired Eagles. They come up, and we also do. I do a show, so I love media. So I do the Eagles post-game injury report for all you Eagles fans out there.
Appreciate you.
So I work with Mark Farzetta, Derek Guy, and Seth Joyner, and I either work in studio at Parks Casino or I zoom in from our home studio.
Pretty boring year for you this year. Not many injuries. Brandon Graham was probably the major one, right?
Yeah,
but I saw
Brandon
that
Graham was bad. N'Kobe Dean.
Yeah.
He tore his. He had a patellar tendon, a complete tear, kind of like the Charles Barkley injury. But we were pretty good on injuries. You know, everybody seemed to come back. So
he was 21 of 22 were starters from week 1 were in the Super Bowl.
I was kind of like the Maytag repairman. Like,
thank you, dude.
They called me up there as I do a little song and dance, like humida, 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 humida.
So you get a ring?
I wish I did. Probably a fake ring also from China.
That's okay.
We love our Chinese.
Exactly.
national.
Yeah.
More rings than we have.
Some of these jerseys, DH Gate specials. I love that.
Yeah, with these fake autographs, you know, which are always great.
I love that. Why do doctors always have like sports doctors, like sports orthopedic surgeons always have their clients like jerseys in there? Is it a flex or is it because you're like, all right, maybe I won't charge you as much. Just give me a little signed jersey for the
I usually
kid.
try to charge them double because I try to get some street cred when they see AI or they might see Doc. There is a Johnny Manziel that once was popular, but now not so much. We have a Joe Namath, and he's, you know, some deflated footballs and a Peyton Manning.
What did Joe Namath need? Like a broken dick or something?
He had a problem, you know, with alcoholism on camera.
Oh, good bro.
And I wasn't able to help him much, but we still love him. You know, we still
Susie
love
Colbert
Joe.
stole his PTSD.
He, like you say, he's crap, but he's our crap.
That's beautiful. What a nice way to put it. I do like
And
seeing
I mean that with
who's the Broncos guy?
Yeah.
That's Peyton Manning. So he
heard
signed
of him.
that helmet for us.
Yeah.
Sure.
So come and rob
Sweet.
us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're kind of just showing your treasure trove of things that people
Don't
would
worry,
obviously
everything's
want.
locked down. And if you try to steal this stuff, we'll use some sub-lethal electric shocks. But other than that, we won't threaten you.
So as King James sat in this seat and farted in the seat that I'm sitting in right now?
Yo. Hello, Kyle. What are you doing?
Nothing. Sitting here watching the game, smoking some Thrive.
Are you all alone? Who's that?
Yo, pick up the phone.
What's up?
Yo, Cheeto, pick up the phone.
Yo. What's up?
What you doing, son?
Nothing. Just chilling. Killing.
True.
He might have, but you know what's interesting? We actually got to interview him when he returned from the Olympics. We were actually in New York City, and he submitted for an interview with my son and myself, and he also signed a jersey for us. And so he was actually very nice to us. So that was a good story.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's really nice. I mean, do you meet some athletes that are non-football players that you wonder if they have brain damage, or like what are those conversations like?
Well, we treat people like we treat a lot of union people like fall out of scaffolds and have head injuries.
Well, they're just born with brain injuries.
Yeah, they're just born with brain injuries. They're hanging off.
I've heard them
hanging
call
off of buildings.
I've heard them call it a WIP before. I know they've got TBS.
It's hereditary. Yeah.
So definitely. So yeah, we treat all kinds of people, and some wannabe athletes like Kyle, who just looks, you know, the all-American guy. You know.
Yeah, me too.
He looks like he should be. He's an extra in American Pie.
Thank you. Now do Matt. He looks like he's not Stifler, but he's
Now you can't take a shit in the bathroom.
I like that better, actually. Yeah, get him a microphone.
You are who's Frankie or who's the guy that American Pie?
American Pie. Is Tara Reid my girlfriend? Or am I Jason Schwartzman, the one who fucks the pie?
No, you're the guy that is it Finch actually?
Finch. That's not good. I don't like that.
That's not good at all.
Let's go back to Dr.
I'm
Finch.
kidding. You're Finch.
Let's let Dr.
guy
get on the mic.
Yeah, Noah Levinstein. That's why I was fucking with you, man. But no, you're probably honestly the lacrosse guy who scores the goal. Yeah,
I like this.
I like that when he gets down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
He'll keep it a bean.
Yeah.
So we shared a mic here.
Yeah. Jump in whenever you want.
Spencer, come on in.
Yeah, get comfy.
Come on camera.
Yeah. So
Take my wife, please.
So how
Me
like,
next.
so neurology, can you do like a 15-second thing on like what neurology is? Are you like a brain surgeon? Or are you more of like that's what I think of it as like a dumb guy?
Well, we deal with neuroscience, so we do everything but open the skull. So I treat a lot of people that have concussions and headaches. I also have operating rooms here, so I also straddle between interventional spine care. So let's say somebody has a herniated disc in their neck and back. I might go in the operating room and use a needle and some stuff. Here I have my tasteless marketing. So this is PRP and Stem Cell Institute. So part of what I do is I do stem cell or PRP, where I basically take cells from your own body and I inject it back into your joints or spine. To give you an analogy, like Bryce Harper had a partial tear of his ulnar nerve. I didn't do the surgery, but somebody put PRP in. You remember Embiid last year had a partially torn knee and he had PRP.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Unfortunately, he went to the Olympics. He should not have done that.
No.
And so he didn't get better, and now he's out. So that was ill-advised in my opinion.
Really? So you think that it really was the Olympics that kind of like hindered that recovery process, or
I would
from
think
your
so.
opinion?
It didn't help him at all.
Yeah,
sure.
And I think that he should have, in my view, rehabbed it and try to give everything so he could come back instead of continuing to be hurt and then just missing weeks as a season ticket holder. I think that I've been
you
a
a season ticket holder
since Allen Iverson, and this is my last year. So I'm just maybe the fact that I can't resell my lower level seats, they're like with whatever their face value is, over $100. I can't sell them for $4 on StubHub. So I think Hinkie and Josh Harris, I think they lost me as a season ticket holder.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's funny because like on the way here, I got offered floor seats, and I was like, no, I'd rather go record a podcast with Dr. B.
Wow. But you know what?
Bullshit.
It's actually Delaware 67ers tickets, and,
Yeah.
and they're just playing in the Wells Fargo Center because that's who you see. I mean, if you want to see Paul George, he's going to be wearing a fancy jacket.
Yeah, you might as well
He's
go to
gonna
an
be
island
sitting
in
at the
Italy where
front
he's licking
row
titties.
and-
Well, then when Paul does play, he does do a nice impression of the Blue Coats, the Delaware Blue Coats, when he's out there. It's pretty
I
brutal
love
to
it.
watch.
It's 8 points a game and making $60 million.
Sure,
crazy.
But listen, he finessed. He's a good businessman, and no, it's just the Sixers are a frustrating team. That's for sure.
Deeply brutal. I mean, I wonder, like from a medical perspective, they talked about the fact that his knee issue is a chronic thing because of like the meniscectomy where they're removing parts of it. Is that something that you have an idea about, or they talk about they can add parts or remove parts? Like, what does that look like?
I definitely do medical orthopedics. So my fear is the Sixers, part of it's HIPAA. We know he's had meniscal tears and he's had inflammatory changes, and he's a very big guy, and he's put a lot of wear and tear with his size, and we don't really get a straight answer from the Sixers, and that's kind of the frustrating part, even being a fan or a season ticket holder. So he's literally came out and said, I'm going to need a major surgery after the year, but then the Sixers will come back and say, no, he really doesn't, he's day to day. So the Sixers organization will literally lie to your face. And I'm resentful of that. They're not transparent at all. I mean, when Brandon Graham hurt himself, you knew he was out. And what they try to do is, if you remember Andrew Bynum, we'll go back. They sold season tickets based on Andrew Bynum.
I was at the Constitution Center when they announced him. Remember they had that whole big thing?
They knew, and I'm not going to mention the name of a doctor who's a good friend. The doctors knew he would never play games, show up, and they knew. So when somebody lies to me, there's nothing worse than a liar and a thief. So I believe the Sixers are both liars and thieves. Yeah. They also raise ticket prices every year, regardless of it. So I've been a proud season ticket holder. It reminds me a little bit about maybe 25 years ago. I played hockey for 30 years, and that was my game. And about, 20 years ago, the Flyers kind of lost me. I just felt like I just don't want to have their season tickets, and I'll buy game to game. And obviously, the last game that my son and I attended was Game 6 in the finals when the Blackhawks beat us. Yeah. I still haven't seen the goal. And they've just been a terrible team, and I don't regret not paying for season tickets. So I've kind of got that point where if I really want to go to a Sixers game, I will go through StubHub and hopefully not get arrested, shaken down by the Augusta committee. I'll be able to walk in.
They got Hamas tunnels underneath the Wells Fargo Center.
They're
still
good.
there.
I'll never forget, like during during COVID, I remember it was me and an attorney friend, and I pulled my mask down to drink a beer, and the security people almost evicted me, even though I had my own box. So that wasn't really fun. The COVID wasn't fun at all. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of masks, even being a doctor. But so the Sixers have lost me as a season ticket holder.
Sure. I mean, while we brought it up, professional, medical, strictly opinion. What do you think COVID was all about? Do you have any kind of lasting thoughts about, now that we're 5 years removed, that you're comfortable talking about, or what you think?
No, I'm
that
comfortable
looked like?
talking about. I won't give you a huge answer, but I would say when COVID first came out, I don't think anybody knew. They thought it would be a lethal disease, and a lot of people who were obese and very old died, with or without. People like Kyle, you look at him.
It looks like shit, man.
Yeah.
He can never
People
play
like
lacrosse.
Kyle.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, it's not a laughing matter. A lot of people died. Parents,
sure.
people like
Sure.
that. So, and I had a lady here who was older and obese. So yeah, it was a real disease. But I think they came to a point where, and of course I've got vaccinated because I had to. So I just think came to a point where the science was junk science. So Anthony Fauci made up rules. The 6-foot rule was no basis in science. They're still trying to get people vaccinated, and Pfizer, and I think it's a money grab for Pfizer and Moderna. So right now, I can look back in retrospect, but I think I had a lot of respect for the disease. Once we learned what the disease was,
Sure.
I was a guy that I thought of myself as, they say, only critical services. So after about a week, we did masking, we did all that, but we felt a duty to a lot of people just stayed down and they lost their businesses. So it was bad. So I think it was a real disease. But in the words of Roger Daltrey, I won't get fooled again.
Yeah, sure. He saw our face and
we
haircut
were
and thought we thought it was a fake
super
disease.
spreader events, actually. Here. We were hosting big parties.
I think it was just a lot of people, like you said, it's funny that you were discovering it as we were discovering it. It's I feel like that shouldn't happen, especially in the medical community. And then when they have all the rules and everything, people are kind of well, I feel like my rights are being taken, or I feel like, if I have a small business and I can't open my small business and live, I think that was the bullshit that people were kind of yeah, I mean, the disease, we can see it and people are dying from it and stuff. But
there's a lot of terrible things that happen.
Yeah.
So I can see the abuses. I can see certain states where they didn't let anybody open up. And this state's kind of a purple state. And I didn't, and I was able to literally have everybody, it'd be boring to go over, but we tried to straddle the fence of complying with whatever the state required, but still not compromising people who really were hurt and were in pain. And a lot of people's businesses got destroyed by COVID. And I'm resentful for Fauci and for, frankly, the fact that China, it came from the lab, and in my view, and I'm not talking politics, because China spread this disease and certain people and NIH were complicit. I think they should, $1 trillion, whatever our budget is, wherever we owe them, they should forgive it.
So from one regime to another regime, Musk, what is your thoughts on the Neuralink?
I don't pretend to be. I think it sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm not a neurosurgeon. I'm a neurologist. So people who open up spines, but the Neuralink, if they could actually have an implantable device that could let people's limbs work, I think it's truly incredible. And I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. And
Interesting.
And I'll go on record saying he's one of the smartest people out there. He also came to Ridley High School right here.
He did. Vito went nuts.
And we were there. And he literally, the fact is, everybody from Ridley right here in our Delco town, and I grew up in Delco.
Vito sent me 17 videos.
So the fact that he literally took
it was all Vito shirtless.
No, Musk he literally took all the questions, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Is there any kind of worry about the fact that if he puts an implantable that can connect to your nervous system, and again, forgive me for sounding like an idiot, but is there any worry that he's connected to brain patterns and waves that could be conducive to
any moment that he wanted to?
Yeah, this is what I would say. If somebody's paralyzed, it's a salvage operation. If somebody's literally paralyzed, like Christopher Reeves, or somebody's paraplegic, they're willing to do more experimental things. There's informed consent. And I think if somebody's already paralyzed, I think they'd be willing to take a chance.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't pretend. One thing for the people in the audience, if I don't know something, if somebody asks me a question, It takes a wise person to say, I don't know.
Don't
So
do
I'm
that.
not an
This
expert
is the
in
internet.
Neuralink,
This is the internet.
but I don't
Everyone's an
mind
expert.
saying.
We need you to be an expert.
But
We
I
need
don't
you to-
mind saying, you want me to know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
No, we need you to go on record and be like, I know
I'm
everything.
okay with Elon Musk like turning me on to start the day. Or,
Whoa, hey, careful there, brother. Careful with that
when I'm
phrasing.
going to sleep, I'm all right with him. Like, just put a battery and let Elon control me. I'm totally cool with it. You know,
Yeah.
me,
I mean,
me
you
and
gotta
Vito
think-
are ride or die Elon Musk guys.
You got to think like it could. It obviously, it has you mentioned about the properties that could be for like people that are paralyzed, but I would be interested in people that like maybe have like drug addiction or something like that. Could you implant a Neuralink there and then
Well, you know
kind
what's
of
interesting?
weigh them off?
For people with seizures, there are implantable devices that stimulate the thalamus, thalamic stimulators. So there's stuff like that that's already in play.
Really?
So there's people with, let's say, crippling Parkinson's disease, and I'm not a neurosurgeon. They can implant certain devices within the thalamus and basal ganglia, parts of the brain, where they can literally stop people from having tremors, or they can help people with Parkinson's disease. There are people with seizures, a different disorder, epilepsy. With crippling epilepsy, they can they can do implantations using a grid, using it. And this is not what I do, but if I had somebody with intractable seizures, even here at UCLA, a guy like Michael Sperling, who was in Pennsylvania. So there's some amazing stuff that actually is happening right now that's FDA approved, such as people with crippling Parkinson's disease and people with seizures. So there's stuff going on like that. So implantable devices, that in itself isn't new, but the idea of using a Neuralink to basically bridge or bypass an injured spinal cord and bridge that so the brain can create impulses to go downstream to the muscles, that's something that is remarkably exciting.
Sure.
Would you hire an offensive coordinator for the Eagles with a Neuralink?
That's a great question.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would hire
Does he have a
somebody.
Neuralink?
Now, let me think about that. Well, here's the deal. If offensive coordinator, I would hire somebody who's really, really old, like a Vic Fangio. Nobody would hire with a terrible personality.
It is true because all you have to do is watch the Phillies, put his in his mouth, and just coach ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't want anybody who's going to get rehired. So I
Yeah.
want somebody who's like, who's the guy, the really young guy? Talk about him. Who is he?
Well, the guy, you're
Really
not
young guy,
narrowing it down. Well, Grant Udinski, the coach of the Jaguars.
Who the hell is Grant
Udinski is he slept in a Walmart parking lot to get the job for Matt Rule back
Okay.
at Baylor in 2019, and he's like a Wonderlic kid in the NFL. He's like 27, 28 years old, and he's the OC right now in Jacksonville.
Okay.
He was up there.
Oh, he was with Baker last year, right?
He was
that's the head
actually
coach.
Liam Cohen, right? You remember the Duval? You
that was
saw
weird.
You saw that at the press conference,
Yeah.
but Udinski was with Minnesota, with the Minnesota Vikings, and he helped Sam Darnold out.
Got
he is just like kind of the next like Wonderlic kind of.
Got
He's like the next Sean McVay, basically.
He slept in so the homeless guy's getting hired to run
It was a Black Friday.
Black Friday. Well, I mean, I've slept a lot of parking lots of Black Fridays. I've never been an offensive coordinator.
He was paying off student loans, but I would probably sleep out
We
for
talking
a job in the
like
NFL.
4-door sedan. We talking like 2-door truck. Maybe a Winnebago. Do you remember?
Perhaps a Vespa.
I'm thinking trunk of a 4-door sedan would
Trunk of a
probably
4-door
Gives you to overkill.
would
Yeah.
be the best
Get
way.
the front seat, man.
Dude, yeah, seriously.
Yeah, you're being too method acting.
How do you look like you're not up to malfeasance when you're
Yes.
when you're sleeping, like
Yes.
waking up in a Panera parking lot?
Yeah, I'll explain it to you. You do. You look exactly like you're up to
That's how bad Doug Peterson left it in Jacksonville. They're hiring
It
homeless
is
guys now.
tough to be labeled as somebody who's completely above board if you're in that situation. But
Yeah.
So I don't think you ever answered, Dr. B.
So I'm going to answer. So my feeling is an Eagles season ticket holder for a really long time.
Not a brag.
I don't want any more. I want to hire somebody who's exceptionally old that nobody would ever hire as a head coach, like Vic Fangio, or somebody with a terrible personality,
Okay.
or somebody so young like Udinski, who's like 25.
Yeah.
Because I just think I'm tired of them draining our coaches. And we love Kellen Moore, and he had a good year.
Sure.
But again, I don't want to promote somebody from within, like a Brian Johnson.
Kevin Patullo got promoted today. It kind of sucks.
Is he the new OC?
Yeah.
So has he ever? So
Never called place.
yeah, so
Been there
I'm
since
not happy
2021.
with that hat. So I feel like we might be going to a regressive period. We might be going to a dark age because if you never called plays, look at Brian Johnson. He grew up with Jalen Hurts,
Yeah.
and he was a miserable failure.
Yeah.
I think Nick Sirianni is a great coach, but when he calls plays, he's a failure. So
Now, were you a Sirianni
guess one of
guy
the-
before 3 weeks ago, or
No, I would say during the Cleveland period, which was the dark age of
Yes.
this year, I was definitely out on Sirianni. You know, when he was basically flipping off the fans and bringing like all of his kids in, and they were 2-2. I have to admit, I was down on him,
Yeah.
and I've made a reversal.
Yeah.
I've done a mea culpa.
he might have shaved his head and put a Neuralink in? Honestly,
He might be in there.
He might have.
He might have been severed.
we
I-
got to check the scars.
I totally respect being anti-hot coach. I feel the exact same way. If the coach is too attractive, I start to wonder your head's in the wrong game. You're not thinking about the
Sirianni,
right
Super Bowl
stuff.
champion. Sean McVay, Super Bowl champion.
Vic Fangio, one of the 11 ugliest guys of all time, great coach. You need a coach who's not quite a looker because he's thinking about the wrong things, at least in my opinion.
Like he's old enough, he's around my age. So if you,
He's hot.
but again, I'm hoping that Patullo, I'm hoping that Nick Sirianni has learned how to call plays, and as a backup, the two of them will be calling plays, and perhaps Sirianni hired a guy who he knew didn't call plays, so he could elevate himself, much
go.
like Howie Roseman just refuses to hire coaches that have NFL playing experience.
Yeah.
And I was very down on him, and I've intermittently been down on Roseman and Lurie, thinking they're meddling, but I can't really. I do a mea culpa for that as well. You know, Roseman, as far as selecting people and running the cap, there's nobody better. But I do like coaches that have had NFL experience, like Deuce Staley. Like I think Deuce also hasn't called plays, but would I rather have Deuce and Kevin Patullo? I'd say yes.
Yeah, sure.
So keeping it on the NFL conversation, concussions. They're saying they're down. You see some players using guardian caps and everything. What's your kind of take on concussions? Do you think like the helmet technology is getting a little better, or you think like, I mean, go back to the Jalen Hurts game, the first Commanders game when they played on Thursday Night Football. That guy was concussed. That guy definitely beat the independent investigator, and then obviously he gets a concussion later on and stuff. So what's your kind of read on the NFL getting with concussions? You think they're doing enough to kind of temper them?
It's a really long conversation. So I would say, just to summarize a very long, multi-hour conversation, I would say that the fact that they've acknowledged concussions, largely due to people like Chris, can't really talk, it's late, Chris Nowinski, Chris Nowinski and Ed McGee, the Boston U, the fact that they found that CT is real, and they had the $1 billion settlement, there's at least a recognition that cumulative trauma does cause concussions. Is there any way to make NFL football, totally safe? I don't believe so. The helmets help, but in a guy like Romeo Doubs, who, of course, one of our favorite players from Nevada, and Carson Strong, who's a Packers player, still with that huge helmet, still got concussed, if you recall, and was knocked out of the Eagles game. So there's no fail-safe to it. And I believe that by limiting the amount of hits in practice, I think that's a good thing. By recognizing concussions, by having a protocol. No, I think the NFL has done a lot, and I think they've acknowledging that concussions exist and are related, have helped. And the fact that they're paying some people with CTE and Parkinson's disease and ALS and people have died from that, I think that's a good thing. But I don't think it's a riskless thing. I'm an ice hockey player. I played like 25 years. There's my old helmet.
Nice.
And I remember talking to Chris Pronger at a conference, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 8-9 years ago. And Chris is he's about your size, maybe a little taller even. And we were doing like a round table, and Chris went to me and he said, Bruce, you know how to avoid concussions, keep your head up, right?
Yeah.
And he kind of said it in a condescending way. And a year later, he was knocked out permanently with a concussion. So
Oh, my God.
I'm not saying I wish that on him, but
Well, you can
but I always
infer.
say,
Yeah.
but I always
he
say,
did insult me in
but I
front of
always
everybody.
say, if the foo shits, wear it, please.
You do always
Yeah,
say.
dude, you kind of won that one. Chris Pronger couldn't.
A little bit.
Chris
little
Pronger couldn't even be in a room with
I
lights
don't
on
wish.
for like
I
a
don't
year.
wish bad on anybody, but
I wish truth. You wish truth. You wish truth on people. That's all.
He started it.
What if he kept his head up or something?
yeah, it was 6'7",
Yeah.
and I'm 5'9", you know. So
I have a kind of a grander question about it, like from a moral perspective. So you have a good understanding about the risks that are assumed when you play football, when you play hockey. Is there any, like you're saying, it's not a riskless sport. It's something that you know that's going to happen at some point while you're playing. Is there any part of you that thinks, like, from a moral perspective, we should just not do this? Like, does the risk outweigh the benefit in terms of, like,
What are you gonna do on Sundays?
well, the
but then you say that-
libertarian
yeah.
part of me, which is a large part of me, I think people in life, in America especially, they if they're given, they should have a right to consent to the risk. And as a parent, my son, who's sitting right next to me, he went to a friend's school where he had to play co-ed flag football.
Really?
Let's go, dude.
Where he was really, he was an exceptional, he was an exceptional flag football player. But what do you
what
wanted to play
position?
tackle football? Quarterback.
Water boy, yeah.
Yeah, 8-0 is in 8th grade year. Not to brag. He's making me seem like awesome.
Did you play intramurals in college?
Yeah,
Hell
only
yeah.
intramural.
Hell yeah.
Right there with
Girls
your brother.
are lining up right now.
Yeah. They're outside. We'll give him a
So
second.
in other
yeah.
words, what I believe is if somebody is a parent, will allow their kids to play, and if somebody is an adult, consenting adult, they know the risks. As a doctor, I think to totally close it down and not allow them to play, I think is heavy-handed, much like closing people down in COVID. So I think that parents have a right when their kids are minors to preclude them from playing or even to play soccer, where we see a lot of girls soccer players who have a lot of concussions from heading the soccer ball. So a lot of sports that involve concussions that you might not even recognize.
Yeah, why doesn't that argument ever hold enough weight? Because my buddies who played football and I played soccer, and I was like, you know what? Actually, there's more concussions in soccer than there are football, and they still call
Because
me
they
a
didn't
pussy.
believe you because they still thought
call
you
me a
were
Because he kept
a
wearing the
P
shorts to
word.
school. That's why.
Yeah.
That was a total him
Trying to
choice.
keep everything.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
I hated that.
I don't want YouTube to censor me.
Dude, when I
A
found that
P-word.
stat out, oh, did I use that a lot? Did anyone give a shit? Absolutely.
I should have
not.
known you knew that stat.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not.
I thought you learned it in real time.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Why? You want to take away football?
Huh?
You want to take away football? You want me and Dr. B to find different things to do? You want to ruin our jobs?
All I want is just somebody to tell you right beforehand and be like, hey, almost certainly you're going to get a life-altering injury.
Yeah, so dude, love of the game.
Okay. That's all.
Did you not just see the parade go down Broad Street?
Yeah,
That's pretty
true.
sick.
Somebody warned them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly. You should
This
just-
guy who fell off the grease pole,
Yeah, it
Oh,
sucks, but-
jeez. Yeah.
It's bad. They assumed the risk, and no, it's terrible. I mean, we're not going to make light of that.
Sure. Yeah, that's awful. I mean, that's an alcohol-informed decision. That's not really his, Either way, we'll get off. It's too sad. No
Yeah,
good.
we're not going to go
Yeah,
into
no
a
good.
morose part.
Yeah. No, we have no
really
roast for that.
boring and
Yeah.
sad. That's what we do here
Boring
on this
sad is the
podcast.
worst.
Kyle talked about soccer
do
for 1
boring and
second. He's
sad.
like, what about sad stuff, though, guys?
A
Am I
lot
right?
of these football players, though, I mean, if it weren't for the game of football, I mean, their lives are really improved by playing the game of football. So,
Right.
True.
For about 15 years. That's my argument. Is like your life is great, which I understand.
Compound
if you,
interest. What are you talking about? You take the money you make from football and you put it in the bank and compound interest, and that's what all I know about compound interest is. Then you
No,
set
there's
people
a-
up for generations.
There's another guy who has an interest in compounding your head into its neck. That's what the issue is. That's what I'm being
you believe he's
I'm
trying
being
to get rid of
a
football?
little light feather here. Not get rid of it. I just have questions. That's all. I have.
you have questions about but still, these guys after football can get jobs and other opportunities, and then
Yeah, you can get a job, but then you got to do the job.
They could stop it. They could stop at any time, and then if it weren't for football, I mean, it keeps people on the straight and narrow. A lot of people.
you think Tony
So
Romo's can cuss? He's having the time of his life on CBS.
There's good and bad.
Tom Brady?
We
Tom
wouldn't
Brady's
have
a great
Johnny. We
announcer. He
wouldn't
doesn't
have
talk when
Johnny
he's concussed.
football. We wouldn't have Johnny.
We wouldn't have Johnny
football.
football.
Well, these.
We
okay,
wouldn't have
okay,
Johnny. I think that's where the argument ends.
I think Johnny.
We wouldn't have Johnny football.
Yeah,
No.
perhaps. I'm on your guys' side.
I don't
Just
think you
asking
are.
questions.
I don't think you are. He's a
totally on the
basketball
side.
guy, so
I am a basketball side. No, not me. Not me. I have great questions that I just won't get answers to about the safety guys.
Do you watch Severance?
I don't. You know what? I think I saw one of. I think I saw one of them. Remind me again what it is. Trigger. I watched one of them.
This guy just burned through 2 seasons, so I didn't think you probably
So
could do it.
Severance. This was. If I remember, this what Severance was. It was where you separated your work life from your personal life, and you had a surgery. You had a neurosurgery, and I saw 2 of the episodes. I personally liked it. My wife didn't really like it. It was too much sci-fi for her.
Yeah,
sure.
So she went back to watching Bravo, and I kind of dropped it. But I heard it was good. And one of my favorite guys, Ben Shapiro, fellow Jew, also told me that Severance was great. But I haven't got to the second. I haven't got to the second season yet.
Before we get into Severance, what's your guilty pleasure on Bravo? Everyone's got
None
one.
of them. I would say
You gotta have one.
maybe. Like Southern Charms, like maybe some of the girls on Southern Charms.
Dude, Southern Charm is
I mean,
great. Summer
they're
House
really
is great.
fun, and I
None of
think
the
the goofy guys, like they would definitely be in an American Pie movie.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of fun as Bravo goes. I'm trying to think of
How about the Real
even anything
Housewives? You a
else.
Real Housewives guy?
I'm totally not.
Those catty
I might
bitches.
say, as far as chick flicks that I do just to watch with my wife,
Got it.
like I'll watch some Bachelorette because it's kind of silly. There's a thing called Marriage at First Sight or something.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm watching now because it's so stupid.
90 Day Fiancé?
Like people get married. And then, like, if something's stupid, if it's called a pot boiler, like I like to do things with my, I like to watch stupid stuff with my wife just because we like to
We got
watch it.
72 degrees.
But as
You
far
gotta
as
take
the
your mind off
housewives,
something.
I can't handle the housewives, any of them.
Yeah.
So that's when I go to the study and I watch whatever's on TV. I watch college basketball or I watch anybody. But there's a certain amount of chick flickiness that I can't tolerate.
Okay.
And I guess the housewives will fall into that category. I do like something on Bravo, the real estate shows.
Okay.
Like I like that, like in Beverly Hills in New York.
Oh, you are Jewish, yeah.
Yeah, I am Jewish. That's right. All the shit I can't afford. Like, my God, who can afford that? So I like the real estate shows and watching stuff that I can't afford. I do enjoy that.
He likes representation.
That's great. Yeah.
Back to Severance, a real man show.
Yeah.
Do you think everyone could? Yeah, I mean, you go.
I mean, is there any kind of plausibility to like altering the memory pattern of a person that you could actually sever the experience as a human being? Is there any thought about that? Because I
Well,
wonder
there's
about
something called lobotomy. Like, if you remember, as far as like destroying the emotions, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. So they did. That was really real. That was in vogue. They did prefrontal lobotomies and temporal lobotomies. So that was really real. So they actually removed emotions from people.
Really?
And people who had mental retardation or people that have behavioral problems, they actually use that as a real thing. And so as far as destroying memory circuits, but as far as the idea of severance, where you could just turn on a memory or separate a brain so you can have a separate life, I think that's science fiction.
Sure.
It's interesting science fiction, and I know it's a good show, and I'm probably going to try to proceed beyond
If you're
episode 2.
if you're knowledge, you got to watch it.
Yeah, I've got to watch it. But I have to admit, there's certain shows, like I never saw Breaking Bad, and my son here, he got me into watching it. He was able to watch it a second time. And so if something's really great, I'll go on the ride. And I heard Severance was good, but I've only been through 2 of them.
So back to lobotomies. I thought they had like a 99% death rate. Were they actually like real?
No, they were real. So people really, if you remember, so people really were alive and they were just, they were vegetative. So they wouldn't kill them with the lobotomy, but they removed their temporal lobe and they'd be emotionless and they would remove, So it was
so they become a vegetable?
It was a terrible thing.
Got it.
Well, you would be an emotional vegetable.
Got it.
And again, I trained in like the 80s, which is a long time ago. So it was much after this was in vogue, like in the 50s and 60s.
Sure.
No one wants a vegetable with emotions.
Not quite. No,
No,
yeah.
not at all. This isn't sausage
Try
party.
to pick that. So.
I'll think about it. Give me a second. I got something.
Trying to find humor in that. Mutilization. Is that a word?
Yeah.
That's a word I just
Dude,
made
you got
up.
17 degrees. You make up a word, I'll say, yes, sir.
That's
Can I have
that's
another?
a real word.
That
Can I
sounds
have
like a
another?
bit of a pickle.
Damn.
Not great.
Wait, Severance, it's like, so would you want to be severed? Would you want to be in?
Well, I think the show, it seems like it explores less of the scientific aspect and more the fact that you are trapping some sort of being in a non-escapable place.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the show is, people live in their workplace and that's the only thing they know and they exist only in that kind of like.
They're depressed on the outside, and that's why a lot of the people on the outside become on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, just watching it, that's the thing. People are like just watching the first 2 episodes. If somebody's life's really bad and they want to immerse themselves in work, obviously, I would love my staff, and they're a very good staff, but if they could only be immersed 24/7 in this, and they couldn't even think of their personal life, and they'd have no distractions, I'm sure that's
A lot more
what's
jerseys
behind
on the
that.
wall, I'll tell you that.
And
Be
to
a
be
lot
able
more
to be
jerseys.
to be able to be at play and to just totally be able to divorce yourself from the stresses of work or being a doctor and never being on call and never having to answer. So
Sure.
it's certainly a very interesting premise for that show.
Yeah. I've wondered kind of about like going back to like at work, I wear like AirPods a lot of the time. I'm hearing that there's some kind of science coming out that a lot of these Bluetooth devices are having adverse effects or could have adverse effects in the long term. Have you heard anything like that? Is that any truth to
Well, I
that?
think I don't know. I don't know that anything's provable about that, because if it was, with all the lawyers and some of my best friends, just like we think that holding a cell phone up in whatever waveforms, everybody does it. If it really came out conclusively that it caused like brain tumors and stuff, so there's a lot of rumors. So I would say there's probably nothing conclusive about the AirPods. There's always going to be rumors, always going to be conspiracy theories. But as I sit here today, I don't think there's any.
So
There's
5G
any
towers,
proof
you don't believe in the 5G towers cooking my brain?
Probably not.
What
The
about
brain
if
was
I-
already cooked?
That's
What
why we're
if
here.
I watch my spaghetti in the microwave just turn around and around and around?
Yeah, like the microwave, and all that.
Is that dangerous?
No, it sounds pretty real. All
right,
it sounds
cool.
fair.
I do watch
like
the
my
microwave
cat.
in a alarming amount.
I've lost some of my favorite cats in the microwave, and I still don't know why.
Yeah, I have them now. Yeah, they're delicious. Thank you for heating them up. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We live in Ohio.
This guy over
Dogs
here,
and cats. We're eating dogs and cats. I'll tell you.
can't
Don't
believe it.
tell you they're part of that gang in Mexico.
He's defending football and he's worried. He's like, can I look at my food in the
I like
microwave?
to watch my
Unbelievable.
food. I like to see my food cook.
Yeah,
I do.
bet you do, dude.
I
I
like
bet
to
you do.
Yeah. Can we talk about weed and alcohol and
Whatever you want, everything's on the table.
Great.
and how good it is for your brain?
Well,
Because Vito's addicted to weed.
that's fine. That's fine. Well, I believe in medicinal
addicted to alcohol.
marijuana. So a lot of people
See?
in Delaware, I'm able to get people certified who have paid. So there are a ton of people who were on narcotics and things like that who transitioned to. Sorry to use that word. No, but
Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah, you can use every word you want.
Caitlyn Jenner's a client, apparently. Yeah.
They're smoking so much weed, they're transitioning
no,
now.
I caught myself. I thought that was bad.
I've been that high a couple times. Where I'm like, I think I might be a woman, dude.
Vito's not transitioning. That's it.
Vito might be
He's
transitioning.
transitioning.
Look at
I'll
him.
tell you though, he's won a few swim meets, and but I hear he applied to the University of Pennsylvania. Leah Thomas just graduated.
I don't
folks.
like.
That was-
That's why I don't
you
really
really
family
nailed that
members
joke.
at Penn, and Trump's trying to take away women's swim titles, so we don't like that.
That's true. We need
don't
more.
want that
We
at
need
all.
more women's swim titles.
So
We
I
need
don't
dogs.
believe
Yeah,
in
we need
medical
dogs.
marijuana. The good thing about docs is we don't have to really know anything about it. So if you allow people to basically open the door in a state like this, they go to a dispensary. They have experts who know stuff about that, and so I believe that anything in moderation is good. Everything things in excess can be bad. So
How many beers? How many beers is bad?
well, I think
week.
it's. I don't really have an answer. So
Give
again,
me
I'm
something.
a libertarian. Assume your own risk.
Sounds
give me
like a
something.
guy's having a couple beers after this.
No,
I
Give me
like that.
something.
I got nothing.
15 beers a week, bad?
I don't think I have an honest answer to that
6'5",
question.
230 on a good
Whatever you
day.
want. Listen, my roommate in college is a guy I can say I love him. His name's Kevin Finn. We would go to Jones Beach. He would literally drink a case of beer.
Yeah.
He had no ill effects. He's a wonderful lawyer in Long Island. And I would be
Lawyer
drink
makes
like
sense now.
a can and a half. So I think everybody's different. People have different tolerances.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
All right, so 15's okay.
15, you become a
I'm not
lawyer.
precluding
12,
you.
you
We can
become
be a neurologist on 15
neurologist.
beers.
Look in the mirror. And,
Say Dr. Bruce told you it's like
Next time my girlfriend
thanks
gives me
for the
shit, I'll
publicity.
Next time I'm
And
drooling.
then if your wife or whatever, when you're like in a ditch or something, just say Dr. Bruce.
Exactly.
Let her
When
know.
I'm behind the
Totally
wheel and the
fine.
cops are like, what'd you do? I said, Dr. B said it was all right.
I'll tell you a funny story. I'll tell you a Hollis Thomas story, and I don't think he
I
would mind.
love Hollis Thomas.
So I don't think
Animal.
Hollis would mind me telling this story. So I got a call from Hollis, and he called me up, and he said, I got an emergency. He came in here. He goes, Doc, they're trying to evict me from my apartment. He goes, I'm smoking weed 24/7. So he came in, and I wrote a note. Mr. Thomas has a neurological condition which requires him to smoke marijuana 24/7. And I literally wrote that for his HOA, and he was able to not get evicted.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'd mind me saying that.
I love that.
Oh my God,
That's
he's got
a
a
true story. That is a true
Poor
story.
guy's got an HOA and an HOE on his ass the entire time.
Dude's a fucking Super Bowl
Here's a
runner-up. Let
great-
the man
here's a-
smoke all
I'll
the
give
weed he
you one
wants.
other Hollis Thomas story. So we went to a sushi place, and Hollis is a dear friend. So basically, we told him Hollis is coming. I showed a picture of Hollis. This lady basically cooked for hours and cooked like a whole room full of sushi. And Hollis said, I don't like sushi. I want chicken. So she and it was the end of the night, so she probably had to throw out the sushi. That's a true Hollis Thomas
I can
story.
see that.
Wow.
I can see
And
that.
Hollis is a wonderful guy, and he loves comedy. We'll have to bring him on the show sometime.
That would be
'cause
phenomenal.
He's really a funny.
Has Hollis
Give us
ever,
a Hollis story.
Has Hollis ever showed you his search history?
His who?
His search history? We can,
no.
we can cut this if we have to, but I had a buddy that worked for 97.5, and I think Hollis was on the thing, and he's like, that guy loves porn more than anyone in this world. He would just be at work, boom, 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 just watch porn.
More than Jeffrey Toobin? So tell us a good Hollis story.
Well, the thing about Hollis, Hollis, he always like has the towel with him, you know, like
Yes.
John Thompson of Georgetown,
Yeah.
like how some coaches and people have towels. So even when he's eating, it could be like even outside, it could be 35 degrees out, and he'll still be sweating profusely.
Yeah.
He's a
still
big boy.
sweating, yes, and that's what I got about Hollis Thomas.
I love
that.
That's
Yeah.
great. I'm not gonna lie to the
Hollis is
entire
a great
time.
guy, and he's just a comedic. He's a comedic person.
I really thought the entire time we were talking about Hollis Thompson, a former 76er during the process era.
It's always Sixers. It's
okay.
always Sixers on the brain.
You know
with
it
this
is.
guy.
There's also Hollis. There's also
Hollister.
Impression of Dr. Let me do, Hollis Thomas. I'll try to do an impression of him. So I was,
Please be so careful. Please be so
No,
careful.
do it all. Drop everything.
We can always cut it.
Yeah.
No, we won't.
Dr. B.
All right,
Dr.
I'll
B.
hear
Sarah's
Hollis
okay.
Thomas. So I was in Missouri and I was growing up. And Bruce, how are you? How are you, Bruce?
Is that Stone Cold
You want me
Steve
to say
Austin?
I thought you were doing the invitation.
let me think about Hollis. Okay. Spence, man, I grew up in Missouri and I played for the New Orleans Saints and I was a really good defensive tackle.
That's not the worst Hollis I've ever heard in my life. It's not the pregnant pauses are really good. The little bit of the stutter. Yeah. There's a deep raspy voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't think of it some other.
I'll give you an Austin Powers.
Yeah. I'm a medical assistant, not
That's
a
all.
comedian.
Yeah, don't worry about
You're not an impressionist.
So I give it Austin Powers. I'll give you Cook Austin Powers.
Please.
Yeah. That's not my mother. That's a man, baby.
Christopher Walken as Austin Powers. I like it. I like it.
Austin Powerstein. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Who's the number one Jew in Dr. B's life?
I'd say Larry David. You know, I saw. I
you go.
actually went to I went to a bar and it was cool. I saw Larry David. I'll tell you a true Larry David story, and I don't know him at all. I was in the Breakers, and this is about 5 years ago. And Larry Breaker is Larry Breaker. That is somebody. He's one of the most affluent guys there, and I saw him ordered stone crabs, and I wasn't talking about it. He was just there, and they said your bill will be $60. And Larry David literally, without having a microphone, he literally said, "Where do you think I'm going to come up with that kind of money?" So that's my one, like my Forrest Gump moment with Larry David.
I always wondered, like, most of the best comedians are Jewish guys. Is there something in growing up Jewish that instills? Well, I'm saying, why are Jewish people the funniest people on the planet? What do you think there is about growing up Jewish that kind of instills that?
I would say the fact that, the family is like, if you look, the Jewish family, Italian family, Irish family, the ethnic families are really fun. So there's a lot of, there's a petri dish of stereotypical stuff. So I'd say that's true. Also, persecution complex. I just say, or having to pull yourself up, big immigrants and having to basically come here with nothing. And I don't know. I guess there's, I think there are a lot of funny Jews. I'd say disproportionately there's a ton of funny non-Jews, but we can look at a ton of Jews who are very funny.
They are, yeah.
Larry David,
Funniest?
Seinfeld.
Jewish people are the funniest people on the
and,
Is that
planet.
because their dads are all
Sarah
executives in Hollywood?
Silverman. I think Sarah Silverman is really funny. And sometimes they're analytical. And Woody Allen is like, I grew up watching Woody Allen movies, who's just really self-deprecating and big Woody Allen fan. So I'd say there's something about the ethnicity that lends itself to comedy.
Yeah.
Got it.
That makes sense. I've always thought that the same. It's kind of a similar thing of like, I always think people that live in the Northeast are funnier because they know how to deal with adversity, and the way to get through it is to kind of make fun of it. It sucks when it's freezing out. It sucks when it's 10 degrees out. The only way you kind of push through is, all right, we'll make fun of it. We'll joke around about it. So I can understand historically there's a lot of kind of things that have been dealt with.
There's a lot of funny people here, like Sebastian Maniscalco.
Yeah, sure.
Like, he's great. And I think there's a lot of really extroverted, if you look at Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, Miami even, or even you go to California. Like, I think that some of the really laid back people who we love in the mid portion of the country are not necessarily extroverted and not necessarily willing to put themselves out in a comedic fashion, I would say.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
What's birthright?
So the Midwest is really boring, basically, and there's no funnier, talented people other than the coast.
I haven't met one funny
I
Wyoming.
just transcribed what he said.
Yeah.
No, of course, I'm more of a Midwest guy myself. So.
Sure.
What's birthright?
Well, he loves. Well, birthright is that. This is pretty interesting. So going back years ago, there's a bunch of very affluent Jews, who basically said that if a Jewish person, typically is teenage years or early 20s, wants to visit Israel, which is the homeland, it will be completely paid for, the whole trip and the whole tour. And so that still holds true. And obviously it was suspended during COVID. You can still convert if you'd like. We got a little mikvah. You got a little
You guys
here.
do
I want
have
to so bad.
You guys have pound for pound the best wedding ceremonies. 15 minutes, step on some glass, and let's go have some party.
Yes.
That's true, and I do love that.
The lifting up the bride and groom and shit. I like
we have
the hava.
we have great parties. I love the short wedding ceremony for sure.
It was way
I
better.
just don't look good in hats, so
Well, you got great hair. That's why you don't have to cover it up.
Right?
You got
so I
great
don't
hair.
have to put a yarmulke on.
You could be one of the Jews who plays in the NBA. You could be a tall Jew though.
Name one.
We need Omri Cassip.
Amari Stoudemire,
Omri Cassip.
Jesus
Amari
Christ.
Stoudemire. He
who retired and then became Jewish.
no, he was
That's
born
got to be
Jewish.
the tallest
I mean,
Jew.
you can't tell.
in-
You can't tell his parents are Jewish.
I don't know.
Stoudemire, he's a African.
Stoudemire, yeah,
Rod
sure.
Carew. Well, a lot of these people, Rod Carew is Jewish.
Rod
Yep,
Carew.
obviously converted. Family's a Jew.
Yeah.
But as you can see, the book of famous Jewish professional athletes is a pamphlet. It's not really a book. It's not a book.
Yeah, they all play in the World Baseball Classic for Team Israel.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I went to. I mean, you're exactly right about a Jewish wedding's way better. I went to a Catholic wedding. Had to sit through an hour and a half mass of just them being like,
Catholic school kids.
"You should feel guilt at all times," and it's like, I do. I don't need to feel this at a wedding right now. Yeah,
Bar mitzvahs way cooler. Went to one. It was awesome.
great.
The food spread was amazing. The party was amazing. Again, maybe it was a little too long on the ceremony, but you made it up for it in the wedding.
Yeah, it all depends. Like some could be really long or some short. I remember one of the things at Spencer's bar mitzvah, the rabbis are not supposed to eat shellfish.
Yeah.
So it's funny. We actually found, and I won't mention the name, a rabbi who was eating like lobster and clams. It was like pocketing that stuff on the side.
What, you guys got a bunch of gallons?
So like we expected like God would open up and like kill him with lightning, but it didn't happen.
When you're reading the Torah or the first two rows, why don't you guys ever have a splash zone?
That's a great question. I'm just trying to think about that. You do sometimes. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to connect that to a splash zone.
Oh,
you
okay,
mean with-
there he
with-
is. Got it.
Come on,
Okay.
they're trying to keep
Yeah,
up.
we do the splash zone on the bikes. We
We got a
have
bunch of shamus up there just fucking spitting.
yeah, we do absolutely.
So I wonder, like, being a neurologist, I mean, do you ever think about the end of the career and then what that looks like? Are you going to totally abandon the sciences and medical field in all, or what does that look like when you kind
That's
of
a
wrap
great
it
thing.
up?
Like I'm in my 60s, and I do actually really love what I do. So I got so the question is, would you retire and do something else, or would you like to do it? I think I really enjoy what I do, and I know a lot of people when they retire, for some reason they die shortly thereafter. I have a daughter who's in Penn right now. His sister, I'll shout out to Sutton, my daughter, and she's got 4 years of medical school, and that's going to be really expensive. And so, yeah, I think if you know you have to make money, like I grew up son of my brothers, son of a widow, and we had to kind of make our own life. We didn't really have a choice. And so now that I kind of have a duty as a dad to keep, paying for my daughter's education, which is going to continue. So I'm hoping, so I do enjoy what I do. I do like to play golf a lot. We enjoy stuff, going to sporting events and play golf with this guy. So yeah, I think it's a matter of enjoying what I do and working like maybe 12 to 5. Like I'm a sprinter. I work 12 to 5. I don't like showing up at 8. So I have my mornings free and I have my weekends off and don't have a lot of night calls. So I kind of like where I'm at. I kind of like where I'm at.
And as a son, he's not stopping anytime soon.
Yeah,
We're
that sounds
keeping the
about right.
train rolling. All right.
It's about right. Careful with- don't talk about
That inheritance.
And also, he likes working here as a medical assistant. Spencer's great at working as a medical assistant.
Love the golf on Sundays as well.
So as a
Love the
curiosity,
Eagles tickets.
it's a very cool kind of dynamic you have. Is there any are there goods and bads of working with Dad, or is it mostly good, mostly bad? How does it?
We're kind of best friends. I mean,
You could tell.
Me and I call him Bruce here. It's funny. Instead of it's more professional than saying, "Hey, Dad, you're the patient in room
LeBron and Bronny
4."
of Delco.
So
Can you believe your coworker sleeping with your mom?
that is funny when you phrase it like that.
It's not funny. It's sad.
Yeah,
fucking
it's
awesome.
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. But No, I know them intimately. I know my boss intimately, and I can have discussions with my boss anytime, and things like that. But it is really great, and we do have a sports radio show, and our lives are very intertwined.
What's it called for the people?
And you could tell that he has a good sense of humor, and
He does.
so our show is Rover Sports.
Got it.
Rover Sports.
People see, gets on YouTube, podcasts.
So I have
video.
a show called Slaughterhouse Sports that I do on YouTube, but Rover Sports is on 8:60 a.m. and it's on Tuesday nights.
Cool. Awesome.
We were just actually at the Super Bowl, so we got to interview like the Eagles, like Cooper DeJean,
Nice.
and even he spoke to Barkley and Brandon Graham, and we've been working in the Philadelphia like sports radio scene for like 10 years, and it's turned into a hobby for us. I mean, we play. He used to play a lot of basketball, but now, I mean, it's pretty crazy to think of us. We didn't have a radio show, but we always do Facebook live streams and things together, and he's just my dad's like my best friend, so I have no problem saying that. And even my friends, they love to just hang out and come over my house just to get jokes from Bruce, because you can tell he's just one of the guys. So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
So as far as our thing with Rover Sports, Bruce Grossinger Facebook, and also, that was the way we all started. People in my era, Facebook, doing a little Instagram, and we're trying to evolve more into doing YouTube stuff and StreamYard and all that stuff. And Spencer with Slaughterhouse Sports does a lot. We do a lot with college and pro football and basketball. So I think we don't really do anything with hockey, even though I played hockey, because it's kind of the Flyers have been terrible for a long time. During Philly season, and certainly, so we pretty much respond to whatever's going on in the town. But football is obviously an all year round thing. Right now, we're getting into free agent carousel and stuff like that. And we also in basketball, we love March Madness, and we like to travel a lot and play golf. And so, as a father and son, you can kind of have a part time business that enables you to do things you like travel and watch sporting events.
It's kind of sick.
That's about as good as it gets. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you guys so much.
Well, I really enjoyed it. You guys are great guys. I can't wait to see your comedy show. Everybody
Please come out. Send any dates.
Tell everybody about who you are and about your stand-up comedy, please.
No, you're better at promoting than I am. Bad People's Comedy. Follow me on Instagram. I got shows. This will probably not be out by then, but Friday, if you're in the Haddonfield area. He's better than me. I really
He's
suck
like an
at this.
agent.
Yeah, Friday, the Tap Room in Haddonfield. Come hang out. Soul Joel's in Pottstown, opening for Gary Vito on Saturday. Check the dates. We got a lot of stuff coming up. A lot of fun stuff.
Great. Well, thanks for having us on. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Thank you, guys.